And we are back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are going to now talk about the Carolina Panthers, how their season went, and what they have to do this offseason, to improve their team, as we've been doing. Um, this was 2024. It did not start off great. Now, I'm not saying that they had a good year, but they did finish the season on a high note. They did. Bryce Young did not play well the first couple of games. He ended up getting benched. They put in Andy Dalton, and he won that game against the Raiders, but then everything went back to how it usually was with the Panthers. And then eventually, Bryce Young got reinserted into the starting lineup, and he ended up playing fairly well. And the Panthers, they ended up finishing with 5 wins on the year, which is not great. But compared to how they looked at the beginning of the year, they showed you something. And Bryce Young finished with 15 touchdown passes to 9 picks. And you take a look at how he finished off the year. His final 3 games, he did not throw an interception. He had 3 touchdowns in that overtime win against the Falcons. And, they played spoiler. They knocked the Falcons out of the playoffs, essentially. I mean, well, the Bucs won, so it would have been that way either way. But still. The Panthers had a couple of bad breaks. They had a chance to beat the Eagles in Philly. He played well in that game. And, they pulled off a comeback. Well, they didn't pull it off, but they almost pulled off a comeback against the Chiefs. And then, of course, the Chiefs at the end of the game, they had to win, in a game-winning field goal. But, those are the two teams that represented both conferences in the Super Bowl. And the Panthers played them tough. They did. And, there was also the overtime game against the Bucs where, if Chuba Hubbard doesn't fumble, they probably win that game, and maybe that changes how things go in the playoffs for, the NFC South. But he played well. And if you're a Panthers fan, you got to be encouraged going into this season, going into next year. Now, the Panthers do have a lot of work to do with the roster still. They did pay Chuba Hubbard during the season. They gave him a 4-year extension, and he put together his best season as a pro. He had almost 1,200 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns on the season. He did get hurt towards the end of the year, but, he's going to be your lead back going into next year because Jonathan Brooks, who they drafted out of Texas, he ended up tearing his ACL again, so he's going to be out. Their leading receiver was Adam Thielen, who missed some time due to injury. He had 615 receiving yards on the year, 5 touchdowns. Xavier Legette, the rookie, fell short of 500 yards, 4 touchdowns on the season. Jalen Coker, the rookie, or another rookie, I believe, he also, on the year, he had 478 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. They did bring in Deontay Johnson to kind of help out the team, and he ended up playing for 3 different teams: the Panthers, the Ravens, the Texans. With all those teams, he was not good. He was not a good pickup. Actually, did he also? Oh no, never mind. He did play in the playoff game against the Chargers. He had 1 reception for 12 yards. Eric also in the chat said they need to bring back Steve Smith Sr. for that swag. Yeah, that's a good one. If you guys have heard of what's been going on with Steve Smith as of late, we're not going to talk about it. But that's all I'm going to say on that. But the Panthers going into next year, they actually don't have a ton of cap space. And you would think they would, but they don't. So they're definitely going to have to rework it. They definitely need to go out and get another playmaker for this offense. Receiver. The defense definitely could use some work. The defense was not great last year. Did play better at times, when, the offense looked better, but yeah, they need to improve that defense. They were towards the bottom in a lot of categories, and they gave up a ton of yards. Looking at the stats or the team stats on ESPN, Their defense was, like I said, they gave up the most yards per game of any defense. Gave up 404.5 yards per game, which is last. They gave up an average of 179.8 rushing yards per game. And then points per game, they gave up an average of 31.4. So defense needs a lot of work. Also, they were like towards the bottom in sacks. They did bring in Jadeveon Clowney, but Clowney wanted to, go home basically. So that's why he, went to Carolina. But yeah, they need to improve that. The offense, was not great last year, of course, but like I said, Bryce Young came in and played better. So obviously these numbers are a little bit, well, it was for a large portion of the season. That last, few games not really going to improve their numbers significantly, but yeah, there's things they got to do. Compared to how Bryce Young looked his rookie season and the first couple games of the year, you compare that to how he finished the year. I mean, he was a different quarterback, and I think he really took advantage of sitting on the bench. I think that was the best thing that could have happened to him, was getting benched and being able to just sit there and, kind of process things and kind of, this was a reset for him. And, he came out when he got reinserted and he looked like a different guy. It paid off. Now, let's see if he could translate that over the course of a full season now. Because if he's able to do that, then you could really say this is their guy. And especially if you can go out and you can add to this team, and I know they went out and they signed Miles Sanders, in the previous offseason. He looks like he's going to end up being cut. Adam Thielen, I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I think he's a free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. They could, but they definitely need another receiver, and maybe they go out and trade for one. Maybe we talked about the 49ers before. Maybe the Panthers go out and they trade for Brandon Ayuk. They'd have to figure it out. Eric saying the Panthers finish over 500? Division's wide open. I don't know if I'm willing to say they're going to finish over 500 yet. I still look at the Falcons and the Buccaneers as being better. But, the Panthers have played the Buccaneers tough the last couple of years, except that game in Tampa this past season. The Buccaneers blew them out. But it was close in the beginning, but then the Bucs just pulled away. But, 3 of the last 4 meetings between the Buccaneers and the Panthers, the games have been close. And look at what the Panthers did to the Falcons. Final game of the regular season. Panthers beat them. And, we talked about the Saints, and they got a lot of work to do. So, I do agree. That division is potentially wide open. Still got to give the Buccaneers the respect, though. They've been the division champs now for the last 4 seasons. The final 2 years with Brady, and then, these first 2 years now with Baker. And of course, you guys know me. I'm a Baker Mayfield fan, so I'd like to see that trend to continue. But I don't know. With these 2 young quarterbacks you got, Michael Penix and Bryce Young, could be a problem next year. But like I said, I don't know if I'm willing to say the Panthers are going to finish over 500. I'm not going to say that. Now, let's see what they do in the offseason. If they really make significant improvements to this team, you never know with this weak division. But, I mean, we'll see. Right now, the Panthers, what do they have? They're picking in the draft. Right now, their needs are edge rusher, receiver, and I think linebacker. I think that's at least what I was looking at on Yahoo Sports, what they had. I mean, receiver, yes. But, defense definitely needs some work, like I said. So, linebacker, edge rusher, you'll take that. Key free agent needs, that's what Yahoo Sports has listed. But, you figure they're going to address that in the draft as well. But yeah, they only have $28 million in projected cap space. I was a little surprised by that. Oh, so they could cut Adam Thielen. So Adam Thielen's under contract, but they can cut him. But yeah, I would have thought the Panthers would have more. So they have the number 8 pick. They have the 57th overall pick in the second round that they got from the Rams. And they have a third round pick. They got 2 4s. They got 2 5s. No, 3 5s. And then 1 7th. So, maybe they take a receiver in the second round. Maybe they, take a defensive player with the 8th pick. Eric also in the chat is saying, what are your feelings on Baker? Yeah, they pick 8, the Panthers. Yep. My feelings on Baker, he had another good year. But I got to tell you, that playoff loss against the Commanders, I was very upset. Not as upset as I was when the Yankees lost the World Series, but I definitely, pounded my fist on my dresser. Because I just was like, how could this... I was just... That fumble... That the miscommunication on that end around, it just that was the turning point in that game. And if the Bucks win that, who knows what happens in the playoffs. Does Detroit still end up losing in the second round? We'll never know. But I think Baker will continue to put up good numbers next year. It's going to be interesting though, because he's going to be on another offensive coordinator. But we'll talk. But Eric, if you tune into the show on Wednesday, if you're able to, we will do a season overview on the Bucks. So I will talk more about the Bucks. But yeah, that's pretty much it though with the show for today. So the Panthers, let's just put a period on the Panthers though. They could be in for a even better season in 2025. But I'm not going to say they're going to go as far as finishing over 500. Let's see what they do this offseason. And Eric also said that fumble, horrific. Yeah, it was. It was. And that's the second one-score loss in the playoffs over these last couple of years, But yeah, that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Eric, I will see you in about 20 minutes for the production meeting. Appreciate the comments and tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to check out all the other shows. Make sure to check out Eric's show tonight. Well, for me, it would be tonight. For him, it would be, well, actually, yeah, it'd still be tonight. Just a little bit earlier because we're in different time zones. But yeah, make sure to check out Eric's wrestling show if you're a big wrestling fan, and all the other shows as well. Like I always say, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. And yeah, until next time, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.